At this time, does anyone have council report that they'd like to make? New business, there's no ordinance introduction at this time. New business resolutions, we have a couple. A resolution number 2012-41. This is the,
Yes, Mayor. You will recall that at our last meeting, we approved a similar authorization. This is for the other cell lessee, which is Sprint Spectrum. They also have, or are in the process of submitting an application to the planning board to modify their existing equipment and antennas. This is the authorization, as we did at the last meeting, to allow that application to be submitted.
thank you. Need a motion and a second? Second.
Who made the motion? I'll make the motion.
Yeah, second.
Any questions? Any questions?
The parameters of the antenna and so forth, the size, the shape, the height, none of that's changing.
No.
They're just replacing
Well,
all.
I'm not sure. Joe, do you know?
Is that true?
They called us today, the application board to review it. I assume it will be similar to the last application, we were replacing antenna, a bigger antenna, probably more antenna.
What we're voting on.
Well,
What we're voting is permission for them to submit an application to the board because the town has the problem.
Can we put a height restriction and a height?
Heights aren't changing.
The heights aren't.
No.
But can we, so that there should be no reason why we shouldn't include that in the resolution? To make certain that there's no change.
We're talking about Sprint Spectrum.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, there's no
I
change.
just don't want to have the problem, small, Blake, Como, where they're.
No, AT&T is the top carrier, so this carrier is below them, so their height is going to be higher than AT&T, so I wouldn't necessarily think that.
If I may, just so that we're clear, we are not approving the application. We are, as the property owner, authorizing the submission of the application to the planning board. The planning board, as part of their review, will raise some of the very same questions that you are asking, and assuming that the application is approved at the planning board, there will be some sort of a modification of our lease agreement to, or at least a filing of the plan, at which time we will have the opportunity to also file it and review it, although we have essentially delegated to the planning board their review in accordance with our land use regulations.
So is there any, I'm trying to find out what the negative is as to making it a condition on passing them that they can't do an increase in the height of the.
I don't think that's a concern.
Aren't they subject to the height restrictions that currently exist right now?
Well, that's what we wanted to know, is it going to be higher?
We just don't want to. That's all. I'm not.
We want to get a clear answer, a clear understanding of what's going on, so no height change at all. All right, thanks.
So then if I make a motion to include that in this resolution, can I make a motion to include the no height change in the resolution?
If I can figure out, I think we're talking about two totally different.
Yeah, it's a different thing.
I'm not sure.
We're giving consent to allow them to submit a plan for us to review. So,
I only want to give my consent if there's no height increase in the intent.
But that's the planning board's purpose.
If I make a resolution, if I make a motion to change it, do I have a second?
Right.
Well,
Yeah, let's get it, Fred.
let's give Councilwoman Cindy the opportunity to make the motion, and if anybody seconds it, we can have discussion.
Okay.
There's a motion to include a height
Motion that.
provision in this
Height
resolution.
provision in the resolution.
Not to exceed the current.
Correct.
Okay, now second.
Yeah, any questions?
So basically, as Mr. Lincoln indicated, this is essentially only giving our consent to the applicant to make this application to the planning board, at which point in time, when they make their submission to the planning board, they will be subject to a full review of the board and all of the requirements of our existing ordinances, which would include that. I will leave it to the council as to whether you, in your resolution, providing your consent to allow them to go to the planning board, wish to include an additional provision in here when that, knowing that that is something that the planning board is going to review when it gets to that level, but that's your determination.
Well, I did speak with, or text Councilman Zimmer, and he stated that there was no height requirement, so
No,
there was no height
that's not-
change. So therefore, if there was no height change, he said, yes, about changing the resolution, you wouldn't have a problem with that.
I didn't say there was any height
Let's
change.
clarify, code which.
I don't understand what you're saying just then.
Well, I texted you about this issue, and I said, I would like to make a change to the resolution
You're
so
not
that,
discussing this, you're discussing the AT&T that was going on.
So Rich, just remember the AT&T thing, we voted on that, we were told it wasn't going to change the height,
And it did not.
and it did not, okay? So likewise, we would like the same assurance that the height's not going to change if suddenly you get a tower that's, 300 feet higher than it is now. So we're
That's all.
worried about the aesthetics of the town.
I mean, I don't-
So is it or is it not going to be higher? I guess if you tell me it's not going to be higher, I'll
I believe it's not going to be higher because with this, if I'm not incorrect, this company's antennas are below the AT&T antenna, so there's no way it should be higher than where the AT&T, it's going to be below the AT&T.
Everybody is in the same spot.
Not everybody's in the same spot. I mean, if you want to put in here that there's a height stipulation,
Yeah, that's what they just seconded to.
but my only concern is, that's the planning board's job. We're just, all we're saying here
we have to
is,
give our consent.
we just give our consent for them to make the application. The application then goes before the planning board,
I would see,
and
we
the
don't
planning board
want
must
the
review
planning board
it.
to approve a height, that's the problem here, Rich, is that what you are asking for my vote on giving consent for this, I don't want the planning board to approve a height increase. And so, therefore, if this doesn't go forward, I'll just vote no. My point is that I would like this to be changed to say there is no height increase. And if you assure me, and you're assuring everybody up here that there's not going to be a height increase, then it would seem that you will vote yes to this change in the resolution.
I don't have a problem, one way or the other, I just think, still gonna come before the planning board for review anyway.
And if I could just clarify, are
And in
you
fact, what I really want the planning board to do when it gets there is the same thing we do with AT&T. If you remove the cable from that water tower, and, metal gets exposed, they now have to repaint. Right, to repaint, whatever they take down.
if I could just clarify, are you suggesting that this stipulation is that the applicant would not construct any new antennas that would exceed the size of their existing antennas, or the antennas the highest antennas that are on the tower, which might be from a different company, which are higher than the sprinklers?
I would say
Yes, this,
I would say existing. They're upgrading their existing, and we're told that there is no height increase. So I would say existing.
well, I said there was no height increase on what AT&T did. I haven't seen.
That it couldn't be higher than.
Well, what you're saying, Rich,
What I'm saying is
just
that
like
it
it.
couldn't be, just listen a second. What I'm saying is it couldn't be higher than AT&T's antennas because their antennas are further down the tower.
So in other words, you have the tower, and AT&T has the top
These guys
location,
are low.
and everybody else is below.
Correct.
So it's really not going to be any higher than.
It can't be.
Can't be.
They're not leasing that space.
Yeah, they're not leasing that space.
The guy at the top is the only person that can actually make the tower any higher.
That's what I'm saying.
All right, yeah, that makes sense to me.
That's what I'm saying. It's a, I mean, you wanna, I'm afraid to say to them that when I already know that your antenna, just let me finish. I'm afraid to say to them when I already know that their antenna are gonna be lower than the guy who has the top perimeter. But just let me finish. What if the new equipment, they're going from 3G to 4G. That's what this is all about. It's about increasing the bandwidth of the service to their customers. Many of whom live in Spring Lake Heights. So if the new equipment, say the antenna, one antenna is 6 inches higher than existing, we're telling them you can't put it up. I don't think that's not our.
You don't want to exceed the maximum height of.
You know what, if you want to say to me,
Persuaded by that argument.
if you want to say to me, I don't want to exceed the maximum height at the top perimeter, I got you. I'm
Okay,
with
all right, that's
you.
fine.
Then say that. But don't say, because the equipment is a little,
Right, that clarifies it, clarifies it.
Okay, so,
So that's it?
Mr. Delaney, do you have that for the record?
Well, the motion that I had was to
I feel
approve
like
the
I'm
provision
playing.
not to exceed the existing height of the antenna. I believe that as a result of the discussion, that has changed.
Yeah.
We don't want to hire the existing tallest antenna.
It will not exceed the, so I'm going to modify that this authorization would carry with it a restriction that it would,
It's not necessary.
I mean, I just want to put out there, that when you prepare a meeting like this, and you ask us to vote on something, such as, such as giving authorization for a cell tower put up, I would like to think that there is some backup. I mean, the idea that this is a crazy situation.
well, in fairness, what is somewhat different, and if I may, by comparison, the authorization we provided at the last meeting to AT&T was for an application that had been submitted, and they understood, maybe the applicant understood, that it could not move forward without our formal authorization. In this case, we haven't seen the plan yet, so we don't know what their application is, but our role is as the property owner to allow them to at least submit the application. We are not consenting to them actually placing the equipment.
No, no, no.
See, this is what happened in Lake Como. Lake Como had the same problem, where the council voted, and then the planning board decided to do what they wanted to do. And then the council had a really hard, they got,
Well, and again, in fairness, this is an existing facility, antennas and equipment are there.
Well, the main point is it's not going to exceed the height of the present
Right.
of the
That's
towers,
fine.
and therefore this
That's fine.
is not necessary. But it's nice to make it clear, and we appreciate that. Thanks.
So are we withdrawing the motion, or is it,
No, the motion
It's
is
being
we're
modified.
voting on it with it not exceeding.
the highest
Highest,
antennas that currently
the
exist?
existing, the highest.
Correct.
I want to make that highest existing cell tower.
yes, highest existing cell tower.
But I think we just it's not necessary.
All right, so what, the end, they were comfortable with the revised, and what about the seconded?
Yeah, I would withdraw my, I don't think it's necessary. Rich is telling me you physically can't be higher.
No, I can't.
So,
So you withdrew your second.
right, because, Rich's explanation.
It's going to the planning board, isn't it? My understanding, we're only approving this to go to the planning.
Let's move on. It's been my thing.
We need a
Okay,
vote.
so unless there's a second,
Resolution as is.
motion, then we go back to the resolution as it's currently drafted.
And we do have a motion and a second. Are there any other
No,
comments?
you just withdrew a second.
No, that was for that.
Was there an underlying motion?
There was, the original motion to approve the resolution was offered by Mrs. King, seconded by Mr. Schuler. On the vote to approve that resolution, Mrs. Cynthia?
Yeah, this is, okay, wait a second.
As it's originally drafted.
Oh, it's really, no.
Mr. Dibber?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinker? Yes. Mr. Vorbach?
Yes.
Thank you. Financial resolution. Need a motion to move the bills from the finance committee?
I'll make that
I'll
motion.
second it.
And do we have any questions or comments? Roll call, Jay.
Mrs. Cynthia?
Yes.
Mr. Dibber?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinker? Yes. Mr. Vorbach?
Yes.
Thank you. Resolution R 2013-42, approving payment of claims on the March 8, 2013 bill list.
I make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any questions? Roll call, Jay.
Mrs. Cynthia?
Yes.
Mr. Dibber?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinker? Yes. Mr. Vorbach?
Yes.
Thank you. The consent resolution, R 2013-43, I assume everyone had a chance to look at these, correct?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
if I could, I would need to separate out the last four, 28, 29, 30, and 31. as I sit on the Finance Council of St. Catherine's.
29
And cannot vote on
it. Okay, so we'll
May I suggest, Mayor, that given the consent matter, that perhaps Mr. Diver just abstain on all to make our lives easier?
That's fine with me.
Okay. Anything else? We need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll
And a
second.
Okay, any other questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cynthia? Mr. Diver?
Abstain.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin? Yes. Mr. Borbach?
Yes.
Thank you. This time we have a second voice of the public who may speak on any item you have like. Steve?
That's you.
I'm not ready to say Steve, no hands.
Again?
Ellen Quintella, 807, I want to thank everyone for your patience, for your listening to everyone. I think that is probably your first in Spring Lake Heights. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? Seeing no hands, I need a motion to close the second voice of the public.
I'll make it.
All in favor?
Aye.
There's no minutes to approve. but
Mayor,
there's a draft
actually,
of last-
we had distributed them at the last minute. I did not include them again in the current meeting agenda packet. They were the minutes from the January 14th meeting, and my notes reflect that Mr. Diver was absent at that meeting.
That was the January.
This is the January 14th meeting. Again, these were distributed the last
So let's-
minute. If you wish to proceed, or however the council.
Did everyone have a chance to read those? Okay.
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any questions on the minutes? Any questions on the minutes? Roll call.
This is for the January 14th meeting. Mrs. Cynthia?
Yes.
Mr. Diver?
Abstain.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin? Yes. Mr. Borbach?
Yes.
And the second set of minutes that were distributed were the January 28th meeting. And again, my notes reflect that for the initial roll call, Councilman Borbach and Mrs. Cynthia were absent. Mr. Borbach did enter the meeting shortly thereafter. And Mrs. Cynthia was absent for the regular meeting.
But I was there.
But you were there.
Need a motion and a second, please?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any questions? Yes, no.
I missed one minute of the meeting, can I vote yes?
I believe so.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cynthia?
I abstain.
Mr. Diver?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin? Yes. Mr. Borbach?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
I make that motion.
All in favor?
I'm in a hurry.
You were asking me.
I'm in a hurry.